Today I want to talk about the art of storytelling and specifically how that works in your business and marketing, right? This is something I remember as a kid. We used to sit, when I was very young, didn't have a real TV at that point in time, and we sat in front of the radio and listened to the stories. And, I'm from a family of 9 kids, and we would all sit in front of the radio and listen to these stories. And there'd be the heat was on, and we'd have popcorn, especially at Christmas time. There'd be just all kinds of things. And we had dogs, so the dogs were there in the house with us. And we would be sitting around listening to these stories. And it was just very, very magical. And I remember as we got older and we grew up and got married and had our kids and everything, my dad, as the grandfather and great-grandfather, would sit in his chair, and the grandkids would come and sit at his feet. And he would talk about stories about how it was before cars. And he was born in 1919. And that means his dad, my grandfather, was born in the 1800s when they had horses and carriage, and everything was so much different. And small towns were the norm back then. And sitting around and hearing these stories was something that I just thrived on. It was something that meant so much. And now as I'm older, I'm in my 70s, and I love sitting with my grandkids and telling them the stories of what it was like back in the 50s and 60s. And it really shows me how important telling stories are and relaying the story in your business, right? Because we've all heard that overused cliche of facts tell, stories sell, right? And it's true. At the end of the day, people want to be able to relate and connect and build that relationship with you, and that's done not through hard, cold facts, but through stories, right? So today I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to give you, actually, there's going to be, if I add them all up, it's 5, 9, 11 different principles, techniques, tips, and so forth. So the first, I want to give you 5 tips to better storytelling. And these 5 tips are, I'm going to just kind of go through them, but they're very important to learn and to understand, right? Now, the first tip when you're going to put your story together is start with the ending in mind, right? Start where you are going to end up, so that you can make everything is coherent and cohesive all the way through your story, right? And number 2 is start showing instead of telling so much. Especially if you're doing a video and you're trying to explain something. It's that old saying, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. Start showing. Instead of always telling, show people what you're trying to get across, right? And number 3 is you need to have a question. Okay, you need to have a question that's going to be answered during that story, and the rest of the story needs to answer that question, right? That's number 3. Number 4 is understand there are 2 quests going on with the hero of your story, right? The first quest is that physical quest. If you look at the great stories out there of maybe Star Wars with Luke Skywalker and Harry Potter and Frodo Baggins and Bilbo Baggins, the physical quest that they had, right? Then there's that spiritual or emotional quest. Everything that was going on, like with Luke, that his father was Darth Vader, and Bilbo Baggins was the draw to the ring and so forth, and Harry Potter was fighting the bad guy, the name who can't be talked about, right? And what happened with his mom and dad and all that inner conflict. So there are 2 quests going on, getting through the physical and getting through that spiritual or emotional, right? And then number 5 is finding out exactly what makes your character unique. Okay. It shows us what they have to overcome to achieve their goals. What is it that they have to do so that they can have that success that they need, right? So 1, start with the ending in mind. 2, start showing instead of telling. 3, need to have a question that gets answered throughout the story. 4, there are 2 quests, the physical and the emotional or spiritual. And then 5, find out what makes your character unique. So those are 5 good tips to do better storytelling, right? The next thing, and remember that, sharing data really doesn't change behavior. Emotions do. And I love what Tony Robbins says about emotions. If you break down that word, it's emotions is motions, right? And we know that if we start jumping up and down and getting excited and screaming and yelling, everything changes with our emotion, right? So taking that motion, and that can change behavior, right? So the next section I want to talk about are 3 core selling principles from a book called Story Brand. Okay, and that's from a gentleman, which I should have written about, Dennis somebody. I will put it in the comments of that, but it's a great book. Okay, and there are 3 things that I think out of this were very, very important. One is you need to have a clear articulation of a customer's problems, right? Understanding the external versus the internal problems. And what that means is, let's say you're doing a fitness blog or a fitness video and so forth. The external is, I want to get muscular, I want to shape up, I want to have a better looking body and so forth. The internal is, what's this going to do for my esteem, right? How am I going to feel about myself if I get myself in better shape, and how I feel about myself right now because I'm overweight and out of shape and walk up the steps and I'm out of breath and so forth. All of those things are the internal. The external is what it's going to do to me, on the outside, and the internal is how it's going to help me on the inside, right? And the challenges that you have with both of those. The other is the concept of failure and success in stories, right? The failures you go along to get those success along that journey. Right? Those are so very important. I know I hear, and I see this in churches a lot. I see the pastor up there talking about how everything that they're I can't remember the word now. All of the parishioners, right? All of the people in the congregation, what they have to do to get better in that. And there are those great pastors and great tellers of stories that talk about the struggles they went through, right? The failures they had until their relationship with the Lord got better, right? And number 3 is provide a plan. Offer solutions and guidance, right? And you're going to hear about that more, because one of the things that you need to understand about being a good coach is you need to make your customer or your coachee the hero, and you need to be the guide, right? If you look at all the great stories out there, again, take Star Wars, right? Luke was the hero, and Obi-Wan was the guide. He didn't want to be the hero. He wanted to guide Luke to that position of hero, right? Understand it. So number 2 is the customer as the hero. Understand that they're the hero and you're the guide, okay? And the guide's role, and you need to understand what the guide's role is in the customer's journey. Shifting focus from the product to the customer story, right? So you need to make sure you understand that you are the guide, and you want to take your audience from the old pain island to pleasure island, right? Inspire them to take action, okay? And I love the quote from Plato, right? Those who tell the stories rule society. This came from Plato thousands of years ago. He understood the power of telling stories. And then again, the last one, 3, is providing that plan, offering the solutions and the guidance, and the importance of understanding the customer's need. Now, we talk about this all the time. I believe there are 2 really important things when it comes to marketing. One is knowing yourself, knowing what your vision is, knowing what your mission is, knowing exactly who you want to impact, how you want to impact them, where you want to go in your life and with your business. And the other is your customer, your ideal customer avatar. Your ICA is so important to understand what your customer's needs are. I love this saying. I heard it again from Amy Porterfield. If you market everybody, if you target everybody, you'll sell to nobody. You've got to know exactly what your customer's needs are. And as that guide, you're going to take your hero through the solutions and the guidance they need because you know what their needs are, right? So those are 3 core selling principles from the book Story Brand. And again, I'll give you a link to that in the description below. And last but not least, storytelling techniques. And this is really, really huge, because one of the things that you'll learn in storytelling is there are a couple of different techniques that you can use that really bring the story home, right? And you don't necessarily do the same thing every single time, right? So you're going to find that, and let me pause here just for a second. So if we talk about these 4 techniques, I'm going to go through them relatively quickly, but I'm going to put a blog together with all this information so you'll have it there. But here they are, right? One is the hero's journey. Okay. And this is originated by a gentleman by the name of Joseph Campbell in his A Hero with a Thousand Faces. He's got a number of different books, but that one is incredible. And it is, if you haven't read that book, read that book, but it talks all about the hero's journey. It's in films, it's in comics, it's in literature, it's all in there, right? And the structure of the hero's journey is threefold, right? The departure, the initiation, and the return. And the departure, the hero leaves their ordinary world where their comfort zone is perfectly fine, but they leave because of some external event. Something happens that causes them to leave. The initiation is where the hero encounters a challenge in this unknown world. Something that initiates this whole journey, takes it to a whole new level, right? They encounter some challenge in this unknown world that they have been drawn to by some other external event, right? And then the last one is a return. This is the end of that hero's journey where he or she returns wiser and victorious and so much better off, right? So if you, again, go back to like Star Wars and Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings and all of the great stories right out there, they leave because of, here's Luke. He leaves because they come and destroy his farm and his aunt and uncle and all that, and he's got to go, right? So on the way, he goes to all these unknown places. He encounters Obi-Wan. He encounters his dad, who he doesn't know is dad. He goes through all this stuff. And when he's done with all this, he's a much wiser Jedi. He's victorious. He has a much better concept and grasp on everything else that's going on. And the last of that is the cultural impact, influence on modern storytelling, and the invitation for your audience to share their favorite hero's journey, right? You want to capture them. You want to draw them in with this journey. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is what's called future pacing. And I'm not real familiar with this as much, but it's rooted in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and it's used in copywriting a lot, focusing on singular benefit for prospects, visualization of a desired future state, where you're going to be in the future in that. And it's really takes place when you with the use of present tense for realism and specificity, or however you say the specifics in your descriptions. Okay, getting into the details of the story and so forth. Example: Alex's use of future pacing for her YouTube channel goals. Right, so you keep going in looking at the future and where it's going to take you and so forth. And again, its roots are in the NLP, that neuro-linguistic programming and so forth. And number three is that what we call the troublemaker. Okay. And this was inspired by a gentleman by the name of Perry Belcher. It's focused is on the appeal of trouble in the story. Okay. The gradual development of trouble, and then the poo storm starting in the midst of all the chaos, right? And you hold the attention of your audience with this trouble, and because of the trouble, because of the troublemaker, because of all the conflict going on and everything else, it becomes much more memorable and impactful, right? The troublemaker, right? And number four is the before and after bridge, right? Simplicity and effectiveness in advertising, step by step. Here we go. The before, identifying the problem. The after, visualizing the life post solution. And the bridge is introducing the product or service as a solution. So here we have before, I'm overweight, I'm tired, okay? After, I'm in shape, I've got so much energy, I feel so much better, I look so much better, and here's what I have. I've got the perfect solution to get you from A to B, before and after, right? This is a huge one. And you see this all the time, especially all over social media, before and after pictures, and here's the solution, my diet product, and so forth. Okay. So those are the 4 techniques in storytelling. I love the hero's journey and the before and after bridge. But I would encourage you to check out the troublemaker, check out the future pacing. Look for some examples. Comment below which one you like the best. Comment below which of these things have helped you or you're using now in your current storytelling. Okay. Also, if you go to rondeering.com/storytelling, I have a free ebook that I will give you on storytelling with a lot of this information in more detail on it, and a worksheet that you can use and so forth. So I hope you're having a wonderful week. For us in the United States here, this is Thanksgiving week. It's Tuesday, and in 2 days on Thursday, it'll be Thanksgiving. And even if you're not in the U.S., and even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving where you are, I would encourage you and just admonish you to take some time to be thankful. I don't care what your situation is. There's always something good. You know, we always joke because of my heart issues and things in life. I woke up this morning. I am so, so thankful. So God bless you all. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you are thankful for all that you have, and I hope this has helped you. I can't wait to see you on the next one.